We're living through exceptionally difficult times. The financial crisis and its dramatic impact on employment and budgets, the climate crisis which threatens our very survival, a period of anxiety, uncertainty and lack of confidence. Yet these problems can be overcome by a joint effort in and between our countries. 2009 is also the first year of global governance, with the establishment of the G20 in the middle of the financial crisis. The climate conference in Copenhagen is another step towards the global management of our planet.
If the global currency crisis unfolds, then inevitably you get, I guess, an alignment under a global world government, a new global currency, and a new world order.
That's not good.
There is a chance for the President of the United States to use this disaster to carry out what his father, a phrase his father used, I think, only once, and hasn't been used since, and that is a new world order.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind: peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law. Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order, can emerge. Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is a very real prospect of a new world order.
All these new challenges are bringing together about the biggest restructuring we have ever seen, not just of the global economy, but of the global order as a whole. And 200 years ago, a famous British Foreign Secretary said that the new world had been called into existence to redress the balance of the old. In 1990, another old world ended, dominated by the Cold War, and people talked then, in 1990, of a new world order. What they actually meant then was a new political order. And what was not foreseen then, but is obvious now from everything that we see and do, what we experience in every day of our life, is the sheer scale and speed and scope of globalization. And it's only now that we can begin to understand that the world order that globalization brings and what it's going to look like, it's driven forward now not just by the balance of military strength, the Cold War times, or ordinary political power. It's being driven forward by a seismic shift in economic power that we see around us. But what does the New World Order mean for countries like ours who are looking to succeed? I suggest that the countries that are going to succeed are those that combine flexibility, free trade, open markets, with proper stewardship of the environment and investment in education, infrastructure and innovation. And the question for us is how we meet and master all these challenges to ensure that Britain enhances its competitiveness in the process and realizes what I believe is our destiny of success in this new world order. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, a new world is emerging. It is a new world order with significantly different and radically new challenges for the future.
Are we at one of those moments in history in which there is the necessity for a new world order? A, because of what's taken place in the Middle East, the rise of different kinds of groups, and B, what's happened in Asia meaning that there has been a shift from the West to the East?
There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world. Just to go back to Iraq for a moment. Right. On the one hand, the manifestations of what is going on in Iraq are depressing and give some occasion for pessimism. On the other hand, simply as looking at somebody as a student of the future, I find it sort of interesting that there is now going on there conversations inside Iraq between the various parties, not going very far yet. Secondly, that there is a meeting of ambassadors which will graduate to foreign ministers of all surrounding countries, plus Egypt, plus the members of the Security Council. And that people are talking of broadening yet a third level in which you would bring in India, Pakistan, Indonesia. Now, none of this may succeed this time, but this to me is sort of the outline by which someday in the next few years a solution will emerge, that people will look into that cauldron and decide that they have to learn their limits, not just we, but everybody else. I want to make one point about globalization. It's always discussed in economic terms, that everybody is better off. But that is only partially true. Everybody is better off on the average. But in some countries or in some regions, people lose their jobs. Major adjustments have to be made. That's the engine of globalization. The people who are disadvantaged by the process look to their governments for solutions. But the governments are national and the problem is global. So how to bring about a relationship between the desirable process of globalization and its impact on the politics?
You're encouraged that China will get better and will grow and will be a more responsive citizen of the world?
I could write a script where this will not happen, because the pressures inside China are enormous to deal with so many
But it's
problems.
incumbent on the next president to be able to...
I would say to the new president what I'm saying to the current president, or I've said to previous presidents. The relations with China are the fundamental challenge of American policy. Because if we get that wrong, then much else we may do right. It's going to be subsumed in an attention to a conflict like the Cold War. And that is something that we must really avoid. And if we want to have a constructive world, the purely strategic and military problems that the shift in power relationships brings will confuse us if we do not consider that we have to bring about, together with other countries, a different consciousness of what a world order is. Now you have, on the one extreme, globalization, in which the nation is weakened. On the other extreme, you have religion. Then in between, you still have traditional states. And how you can get an international system in a world that is states and all these other movements, that is bound to produce problems. But I have actually, especially in the last month, developed the thought that yes, we are living in a period of tremendous turmoil now. But I think that at the end of this administration, with all its turmoil, and at the beginning of the next, we might actually witness the creation of a new order, because people looking in the abyss, even in the Islamic world, have to conclude that at some point, ordered expectations must return under a different system. But you cannot wake up every morning wondering what horror is going to befall you. And so, yes, we are in a I find it interesting that somebody called a conference of ambassadors in Baghdad of all the surrounding countries, plus the Security Council, and everybody came. And it hasn't broken up. Of course it didn't settle anything yet, and it won't very necessarily quickly, but then they're adjourning to a foreign ministers meeting. Now, it's just the beginning, a very small step on a road which either this administration will have to travel further or a new administration. Somewhere along the line, something like this must happen.
That's an appropriate place to end this conversation and as the beginning of a series of conversations, but it is to recognize that we are at one of those moments.
Absolutely.
Where there are forces at work, but and that people may be coming to an idea that we're looking at an abyss and need to come back from it, and you see some hope that might be starting.
It's also a great opportunity.
Thank you for coming. Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State. We began, as I said, this series of conversations with former secretaries of state, with people from not just the United States, but other countries, talking about this new world order and where we go from here.